This video will explain the method of factoring called product sum. For this particular method, we are factoring quadratic expressions, ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is equal to 1. So our lead coefficient is 1, so basically you won't see a number there. This method is called product sum. For our first example, we'll factor the quadratic x squared plus 3x plus 2. We need two numbers whose product is positive 2 and whose sum is positive 3. So the number on the end is the product and the number in the middle is the sum. Please remember that what we are doing applies only when a, the coefficient on x squared, is equal to 1. So a handy little device is to make this big X and put the constant term 2 at the top and put the middle term 3 at the bottom, and I'll put a times sign here to remind us that 2 is the product and a plus sign here to remind us that 3 is the sum. So the only factors of 2 are 2 and 1. Because 2 is prime. And because 2 plus 1 is equal to 3, we found the two numbers we need. So remember, factoring means to write the quadratic as a product of other factors. In this case, our factors will be binomials. We need x and x in the front of each set of parentheses because x times x will give us the x squared. And then we take our two numbers that we just found, positive 2 and positive 1, and we put them in the parentheses with the x's. Now it's smart until you're super confident and super skilled to always check your answer. And we check by foiling or distributing. So our first multiplication will be x times x, which is x squared. The outer multiplication will be x times 1, which is 1x. Our inner multiplication is 2 times x. And our last multiplication is 2 times 1. Simplify by combining like terms in the middle. And you get x squared plus 3x plus 2, which is exactly what you started with, so you did it correctly. Very good. All right, our next example will be factor x squared plus 5x plus 6. Remember, the number on the end is the product, and the number in the middle is the sum. So if you want to use this big X to help you remember, go ahead and set it up. It's certainly not necessary. The constant term goes at the top, that's our product, and the middle coefficient goes on the bottom, and that will be our sum. So what we need here are numbers which multiply to make 6 and add up to make 5. Now, of course, 6 times 1 equals 6, but 6 plus 1 is equal to 7, so the numbers are not 6 and 1. The other factors of 6 are 3 and 2. 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 plus 2 is 5, so we have found the numbers that satisfy both conditions. So we set up our parentheses, x and x, and then we insert the positive 3 and the positive 2 that we just found. We check our answer, by distributing or foiling. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times 2 is 6. Combine like terms in the middle, and you'll notice you get x squared plus 5x plus 6, which is what we started with. So we did it correctly. Now, a couple of comments before I go on. Notice when I put my numbers in my parentheses, I'm putting plus signs in front of them because they're both positives. And the sign in front of the term belongs to the term. So here, I put a plus sign in front of my 3 and a plus sign in front of my 2 because the 3 and 2 that make 6 and 5 are both positives. Our next example is factor x squared minus 7x plus 12. Now notice our middle term is negative this time because the sign in front of the term belongs to the term. So 12 is our product. Negative 7 is our sum. So if you want to use the x for organizational purposes, you put the constant term at the top and you put the middle coefficient at the bottom. Now we have to think of factors of 12 which add up to negative 7. Let's see, factors of 12. There's 12 and 1, there's 6 and 2, there's 3 and 4. Now 12 plus 1 makes 13, so that's certainly not it. 6 plus 2 makes 8, so that's certainly not it. 3 plus 4 makes positive 7. So this is super close. Now, if I need to make a positive 12, I can also use two negatives because a negative times a negative is a positive. And if I make both the 3 and the 4 negative, I still get positive 12, but this time I get negative 7. So I found my two numbers. Let me use red, and they are negative 3 and negative 4. So you're going to set up your parentheses to receive your binomials. They both must start with x because the first term is x squared. And then we put the negative 3 and the negative 4 in the parentheses, and we would now read that x minus 3 times x minus 4. Check your answer by foiling or distributing. X times x is x squared. X times negative 4 is negative 4x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. Combine the like terms in the middle, and you get x squared minus 7x plus 12, which is what we started with. So we did that correctly. Okay, we're going to do two more examples. Our next example will be factor x squared minus 4x minus 12. This time I have two negatives. My product is negative 12, and my sum is negative 4. So we can use the big X if you want. The constant term negative 12 goes at the top, and the middle term, the middle coefficient, negative 4, goes at the bottom. So we need factors of negative 12 that add up to negative 4. Now, just ignoring the negative for a second, we have 12 and 1, we have 6 and 2, and we have 3 and 4. Those are pairs of factors of the number 12. Now, of course, one of them is going to have to be negative, and the other one's going to have to be positive, because a negative times a positive is a negative. So which pair of numbers, if I have one negative and 1 positive would give me -4 when I add them. If you guessed -6 and 2, you are absolutely right. So our numbers are -6 and +2. So we set up our parentheses to receive our binomials, and then we put the -6 and the +2 in the parentheses. Notice I'm putting the signs of the numbers with the numbers. We check our answer by foiling or distribution, and we have x times x, which is x squared, x times 2, which is 2x, -6 times x, which is -6x, -6 times 2, which is -12. Combining like terms in the middle, we get x squared minus 4x minus 12, which is exactly what we started with. One last example. We're going to factor x squared plus x minus 12. So notice this time our product is -12 specifically, but our sum in the middle is +1. Remember, when you can't see the coefficient on a variable, it's understood to be a 1. So our big X. Our constant is -12, and the coefficient of the middle term is +1. So we need factors of -12 that add up to 1. If you look back up at the last example, notice that one pair of factors of -12 is -3 times 4. And if you add -3 and 4, well, you get +1, don't you? So set up your parentheses, start them both with x. The numbers we need are -3 and +4. So we put -3 here and +4 here, and then we check our answer. X times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. -3 times x is -3x. And -3 times 4 is -12. Combine like terms in the middle, and we get exactly what we started with. Thank you for watching.